Some articles also speak of 20,000, but up about 14,000.
Castles.
Whoa.
Germany has a population.
No! Does everybody live in a castle over there? Hello guys and welcome to my channel. So today we are going to be checking beautiful castles in Germany. I mean, we know that they have many much castles in Germany. Like I've seen view videos, travel videos, road trips that expose me to how beautiful German castles are and how much castles they have. But today this video is going to be more extensive, looking into German's castles.
Last year, Ben and I said this in a video.
We have McDonald's, you all have castles. I've noticed that. There's castles everywhere.
Maybe not as many castles as you guys have at McDonald's.
No, nowhere near as many, but it's, you know, exaggerating.
Wait, is that true? Was I that off? Let's look into it. Hello, servus, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Feli. I'm originally from Munich, Germany, but I've been living here in Cincinnati, Ohio, on and off since 2016. So that snippet that you just saw is from a video that I published a little over a year ago. It was about Ben's first impressions of Germany, and since he was so fascinated by all of the old architecture and all of the palaces and castles, he compared the amount of McDonald's in the US to castles in Germany, which, as you could see, I thought was a total exaggeration, but you guys ended up correcting me in the comments, saying that there are actually more castles in Germany than there are McDonald's locations in the US. But how are there more in a country that's half the size of Texas than these in the entire US? That's more than 27 times bigger than Germany. And if you live in the US or have ever visited, you know that the Golden Arches are literally everywhere here. From my home alone, I could reach 10 different McDonald's locations in a 15-minute drive or less. So how is this even possible? Let's find out.
When you Google it, there are indeed.
Wait, I get it now. Are they saying there are more castles in Germany than there are McDonald's in the No. I know Germany have castles, but not that much. Like, what? No. Does everybody live in a castle over there? Wow.
Lots of articles stating that Germany has a total of 25,000 castles. Some articles also speak of 20,000, but either way, that's way higher than the number of McDonald's locations in the entire US, which as of this year is 13,520, so rounded up about 14,000. I find that surprisingly low.
That means that on average, each of the 50 states only has 280 McDonald's locations. Now, I'm not the best at estimating, but I would have definitely expected that number to be higher. This also means that Starbucks actually has McDonald's beat in the US with about 16,000 locations.
Worldwide, McDonald's has a total of about 40,000 locations, by the way. About 1,400 of those are in Germany, so only about a tenth of how many there are in the US. That seems about right. I wonder how many bakeries there are in Germany. 35,000? Almost as many as McDonald's locations worldwide? I mean, I can't say I'm surprised. I often say bakeries in Germany are like Starbucks in New York, but based on these numbers, that might actually be an understatement.
So 25,000 castles.
Whoa.
Germany has a population of about 83.2 million, so that's about one castle for every 3,300 people. Or 30 castles for every 100,000 people. What's interesting is that when I Google this in German, I get the same number, but some articles talk of Burgen, Schlösser und Herrenhäuser, which would include buildings that go way beyond what we understand by castle in English.
I'd never even thought about it, but the terminology here is quite confusing between English and German. In German, a Schloss can be something like this, but also this. Schloss Nymphenburg or Schloss Versailles, but also Schloss Neuschwanstein or Schloss Schwerin. While in English, this is referred to as a palace and only this is a castle. But in English, this is also a castle. While in German, that's called a Burg. It's even in the name, Wartburg. This is where Martin Luther was hiding after his fallout with the Catholic Church and where he translated the New Testament into German in the early 16th century. But doesn't Burg translate to fortress in English? My brain is all twisted already. Schloss, castle, palace, Burg, fortress, like what? let's make some sense of this. According to Oxford Languages, a palace is the official residence of a sovereign, archbishop, bishop, or other exalted person, such as the royal palace. And a castle is a large building, typically of the medieval period, fortified against attack with thick walls, battlements, towers, and in many cases a moat, such as the Edinburgh Castle. But what's a fortress then? What's the difference? Okay, so on World Atlas, it says that a castle is a residence, while a fort, which I'm assuming is the same thing as a fortress, is not a residence, but rather a military fortification. These structures have been built specifically with war in mind and are used to defend specific territories. Oops, looks like I've been using that word wrong for years then, because I always say fortress when I mean Burg in German. A Burg is typically defined as a closed Wehrbau, so a defense structure, typically built in the Middle Ages or earlier. So they're a mix of defense and residence, typically have thick walls, defense features, and are kept simple and practical. So basically the same definition as a castle in English.
If you want to learn more about the Middle Ages and the context in which all of these Burgen or castles were built, I came across this book on Blinkist and I listened to all 10 blinks during my research for this video because I found it so fascinating. It's called Powers and Thrones, A New History of the Middle Ages by Dan Jones, and thanks to Blinkist, I was able to learn about the most important things from the entire book while I was making dinner. That's why I'm a huge fan of the app. It's basically like asking a friend who has already read the book what their key takeaways were. But with Blinkist, you can access a few more titles than you would be able to by just asking your friends. They have over 6,500 nonfiction books and podcasts available, and for each of them, they highlight 10 key ideas called blinks that you can either read or, and that's what I mostly do, simply listen to. My main takeaways from this book were that it really reminded me of how many crucial historical developments took place during the Middle Ages. Not just the Crusades and the Plague, but also the founding of Islam, the invasion of the Vikings, and the commercial revolution, which has majorly shaped the economic system we have today.
The rise of the new merchant class was due in part to its development of financial techniques.
Free trial and 25% off. By the way, did you know that the city name of Hamburg, so Hamburg, goes back to the German word Burg as well? It was named after the Hammerburg that used to be located in that area, and it was built in the 9th century. But in the Middle Ages, Burg was also sometimes just used as a synonym for town, which is why to this day there are lots of city names such as Würzburg, Augsburg, Freiburg, Brandenburg, Duisburg, and so on. Not to be confused with Berg, by the way, which means mountain, as in Bamberg, Nuremberg, or Heidelberg. But in English, they're usually both pronounced the same, Berg. So while this is a Burg in German, the buildings that we call Schloss were built mainly after 1400, they were residences, and they also had a representative purpose. The royals at the time were all trying to outdo one another in showcasing their wealth and power, so their buildings were overflowing with luxury, beautiful decorations, and playful architectural features. A Schloss also usually comes with a Schlosspark, so gardens. The era of Schlösser ended with the end of the German monarchy in 1918. Now, we do also have the word Palast in German, which would be the equivalent to palace in English, but for the most part, it's just used as a synonym for Schloss.
When I try to find out where this estimate of 25,000 comes from, the only real source I can find is an interview from this article on DW, Deutsche Welle, that's available in German and in English. It talks about how the Europäische Burgeninstitut, the European Castles Institute, is creating a database of all Burgen in Germany, which I guess in this context would translate to medieval castles and forts. They're including Burgen that are still standing, ruins, and those that have disappeared altogether. And even though the database isn't fully complete yet, the leader of the institute did say in this article that they're estimating that it's a total of about 25,000 Burgen, including those that don't exist anymore, if I understand it correctly, which might make the number a little less impressive.
But at the same time, the database doesn't include palaces like Nymphenburg or castles like Neuschwanstein, which by the way is only from the 19th century and was never used for protection. So those don't quite meet the criteria for the EBI database. But if we include all of those buildings as well, like some of these articles did that talked about Schlösser, Burgen and Herrenhäuser, so manor houses, the number is probably significantly higher than 25,000. So to answer the question of the video, even though we don't know the exact number of German castles, there's no doubt that it's quite a lot more than 14,000. So it is true, Germany does have more castles than the US has McDonald's. They might just not all look like this. And if you look at the history, it makes sense.
During the Middle Ages, Germany was divided into lots of small, competitive feudal states and principalities, so people built fortified castles for protection. Actually, Germany didn't become a unified country until 1871, when the German Empire was founded. So even after the medieval time period was over, there were lots of kings, dukes, and other nobles that all had their own residences, or even several ones. So century after century, more and more castles and palaces were built.
Some of the most important and famous German castles are Burg Hohenzollern, Schloss Charlottenburg, Schloss Herrenchiemsee, Schloss Moritzburg, Schloss Braunfels, Schloss Drachenburg, Burg Eltz, Schloss Marienburg, and of course, Schloss Schwerin that I mentioned earlier, Wartburg, and Schloss Neuschwanstein. McDonald's, on the other hand, has only been around for about 80 years. It was founded in 1940 in San Bernardino, California, by the two brothers Richard and Maurice McDonald. And at the time, they had a lot of ideas for how to revolutionize the fast food industry.
Their main focus was on efficiency and speed. They served only a few simple meals that could be easily eaten without cutlery, packaged their food and drinks in simple paper packaging, and stopped serving people in cars.
Drive-in restaurants were extremely popular at the time.
But most importantly, they saved time and money by adopting the principles of a factory assembly line. Each employee was assigned one easy-to-learn task, like flipping burgers or dressing salads, which reduced costs and optimized speed.
And they started opening up franchise locations, which made for the rapid expansion of the chain. Now, to bring all of this full circle, remember how we talked about the city of Hamburg being named after a castle? And do you know where the word burger originates from? It's short for hamburger, right? And that was named after the city of Hamburg. The exact connection or history here isn't fully clear, but the first mention of a so-called Hamburg steak was documented in the Boston Journal in the 1880s, which then turned into hamburger, which of course is the staple product of McDonald's. Which of the German castles and palaces would you like to visit the most? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this slightly different video today. Thanks to Blinkist for sponsoring the video. Make sure to check out the link down below to subscribe and get a 25% discount. And of course, also don't forget to subscribe to my channel to see more of my videos in the future. Follow me on these platforms for more content. And if you want to, you can support my channel by sending a super thanks, becoming a Patreon supporter, or buying me a coffee, or probably more like a beer at Oktoberfest next week. Thank you guys so much for watching and for your support, and I hope I'll see you next time. Tschüss!
I obviously want to know what it feels like in one of those castles, specifically Wartburg castles. I love the look, I love the color, I love the environment, and I just love where it is situated. Wow, I'm blown off. Like, I know that Germans have castles, but not this much castle. Like, I mean, it's a castellated country. I can safely say that it's a castellated country, if that's a good or correct English anywhere in the world. Castles speak of royalty, superiority, leadership, and it's beautiful too. And I just like the whole concept of a castle, the structure and how a castle feels like. It's just way different from a regular house. And also, she was able to differentiate the difference between the castle, the fortress, the burg, the berg. That was really insightful, and I enjoyed that, or I was really informed about that, because I always feel like everything served the same purpose, even though I know that a fort is more defensive than just a burg or a castle, right? But that was well explained and I loved it. Thank you guys, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I did. And until next time, do not forget to subscribe if you're yet to do so. Feel free to support this channel by using the Buy Me Coffee, the super thanks, and until next time, bye bye.